I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I have a problem. I have three items that need to be joined together. Now this one and this one, they go together actually pretty well. This is a left-hand thread bolt. This is a turnbuckle. It has to have a left-hand thread bolt in it. This is a bearing. And the bearing has a 1/4 28 thread in it. I cannot thread the end of this shaft to 1/4 28 because it's undersized. When they made this thing, they put a rolled thread on it, which means they can use an undersized shaft. Normal processing. It's a lot faster and easier to roll the thread than it is to cut one. They're more reliable, a little stronger, but it makes it so that you can't cut threads onto the shaft because that leaves the threads too small. They won't grip. Less than 10% engagement. To overcome that problem, I'm going to take this little 1/4 28 set screw, which threads into the bearing quite nicely. I'm going to cut off this wrinkled up piece here, turn this down so that the end of it slides into the hex socket on the set screw. Then I'm going to silver solder those two things together. Now, should work just fine, absolutely no problem at all, but we know how that works. But that's what we're going to do. And the camera running. Okay, now we're ready to start turning this thing down. A few quick shots of oil in the bearings and we're ready to go. Just using the set screw head as a go-no-go gauge. Doesn't need to be precise. I'm just going to silver solder it together. I'm taking kind of light cuts because with this unsupported little stub shaft, I'm running the risk of damaging it by catching it. And you wondered why I kept this little stubby hammer around. It's nice for tunking. Well, now I have this little stub shaft made up, left hand threaded on one end, hardened grade 8. Doesn't need to be grade 8, but that's what set screws are. Quarter 28 thread on the other end. And what that does is let me join these two guys together like that. Put some silver solder on there and we'll be good to go. I don't want to do that with the aluminum turnbuckle on it. If I turn the shaft and hold both ends of it, which is kind of hard to see, but that's what I'm doing, I'm actually unscrewing it from both devices at the same time. Well, not when I'm doing that. This left-hand thread. You got to turn left-handed. There. Little stub shaft. Cut this one off, make another one. We're good to go. Now, some people say, well, why don't you put a guard over the ways? I don't hit them with a hacksaw because every time I do that, every time I break through, when I cut, it always falls towards the chuck. I bounce off the shaft. If you don't happen to have that lucky circumstance, you certainly may put a small piece of wood or something across the ways when you're doing hacksaw cutting so that you don't bang into them. As you can see, these ways have been beat up over the years, but best bit of information I've got, this lathe was built sometime in the 1940s and it has lived a long, hard life. So, no further damage. Two adapters. Successfully adapted. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.